Today we have Mr. Veejay Nakra, CEO, Automotive Division, Mahindra Mahindra, on BWHotwires. Welcome to Business World. I'm your host Siddharth, and let's start the show. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Siddharth and Avishek. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Looking forward to interacting with you all.
Great, sir. Likewise. So let's start this conversation with the biggest topic of 2020, the COVID pandemic. Now, COVID pandemic has brought a lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities as well for the auto sector. I would like to understand your views on this.
Well, I think we now are well into almost a year of the pandemic. So having said that, I think we all know every couple of months there are new things that emerge. It started off primarily as an urban phenomena. As the migration happened and the people started moving to their hometowns, it spread to rural India. Now there is a new strain that's come in. So I think the situation is pretty dynamic, and my view is it will continue to be the same for a while. We all know that various global companies are talking about their virus inoculations coming out. Let's wait and watch what happens there. But I think it's been a very, very interesting 10 months from the automotive industry point of view. Obviously, when the pandemic hit the industry or the nation in February, March, I think the business kind of came to almost a grinding halt for a couple of months. But I think very quickly, the situation changed faster than what one would have anticipated. And we were very happy to see that largely across segments, especially in the SUV category and the small commercial vehicle segments, the business did come back within 4 to 5 months post the pandemic, when things started stabilizing and people started adjusting to what I would say the new post-COVID way of life. So that obviously we had our share of challenges, but great opportunities, the way consumers buy, the way automobile companies had to redefine their business models, their distribution system, the supply chain, flexible manufacturing. So I think we've all gone through those cycles, and it's been a very interesting 10 months. And the best part is, after all of that and during all of that, the demand continues to remain strong. So I think that's what is the positive ray of light that comes out after what we've gone through, that things are now stable. Production systems have normalized. Supply chain continues to be a little bit of a challenge, but demand is very strong.
Sir, as you know, there's a lot of talk about e-mobility, and you have also supplied quite a few models to EESL. So where are we heading towards e-mobility, and what kind of developments we can hear of from your end when it comes to e-mobility? Because your compatriot Tata Motors is launched the Nexon EV, and it is betting big on that. And also they are lining up multiple electric cars in the next few quarters. So I mean, your thoughts, and do you think e-mobility is the way forward?
Yeah, so Avishek, let me break that in two parts. There is a last mile mobility, and let's call shared mobility as one part. And then there is personal ownership, which would be the second part. And I'm just leaving out let's say this, so to say, financial year for the last mile mobility and shared mobility, because we know, because of the pandemic, most people obviously have not used that as a mode and means of transportation. Also, I think electric, especially in the four-wheeler space, is more an urban phenomena, whereas in the three-wheeler space, it is still last mile and rural. So if I look at that part, clearly and we have a very strong portfolio there, whether you look at the Alpha Mini three-wheeler or whether you look at the lithium-ion portfolio that we now have of Trio, for the people movement, both in auto and rickshaw, as well as we've recently launched the Trio Zor, which is the goods electric three-wheeler, lithium-ion technology, and that's been welcomed by a lot of the international e-commerce companies who are now in India. So we are well entrenched. We have a very strong range of products already there. We even showcased what we call the Atom at the Auto Show, which is a four-wheeled last mile connectivity vehicle that we will be launching. Of course, there has been a little bit of delay because of the pandemic in terms of our ability to bring it to market. But that's clearly another product that we will be adding to that portfolio. And that will give us a very, very strong portfolio in last mile people movement and goods movement. Then let's talk about shared mobility. We clearly, again, have the EKUV, again, slightly delayed because of the pandemic, but we'll be launching that soon. And once we launch that, we will have a product in the shared mobility space. And then we will have, as the next product in the personal ownership space, it will be the electric version of the XUV 300, which is still a little far away from when we would launch it. But that would be the next product that we would bring in. And in that sense, that's the, let me call it the near-term electric vehicle portfolio that M&M will have to offer in the market, which will cover largely all the segments of last mile mobility, goods movement, shared mobility, as well as personal SUVs.
So now we spoke about diesels and petrols, and we all know Mahindra diesels are very famous, very strong for their reliability. So even the DI and the CRD engines. Now we see Mahindra bringing in petrol engines. So M Stallion and etc. Even Mahindra Thar, which is supposed to be a lifestyle 4x4 vehicle, and today we have it in petrol as well. I mean, there were days when we actually, all of us used to think we cannot buy an SUV which is a petrol because it will guzzle fuel. So what is the roadmap with petrol engines? Because I understand diesel in BS6 becomes expensive with DPF and etc. But petrol also I stay in NCR. And we have that 10-year rule. So it just doesn't make sense buying a vehicle for, say, 5 or 8 years. So what's the roadmap with petrols with Mahindra?
Look, I think, Siddharth, as far as M&M is concerned, we struck the balance between diesel and gasoline in terms of our engine development powertrain program many years ago. Clearly, today we have a world-class, state-of-the-art, and I would even go out to say probably one of the best gasoline engine platforms domestically and globally. And let me explain why I say that. Today in our portfolio, we have a very good 1.2, 1.5 and a 2-liter gasoline engine, which is not just naturally aspirated or a simple turbo technology engine, but we are the first in many of the categories to be bringing in the entire TGDI technology. The M Stallion platform are being sourced by Ford as well as by Sanyong. So it's clearly not an engine which is, just a recently launched domestic engine platform. It's something which will have economies of scale. It is something which will be bought by other manufacturers. And obviously that clearly shows that this is, as far as the technology, reliability, performance, all parameters, fuel efficiency, maintenance, everything that needs to be looked at, it's class leading. Going forward, clearly, this is going to be a very, very integral part of our portfolio. Every brand that we have and we will launch will be available in both diesel and gasoline with the option of both manual or AMT technology or a fully automatic technology. So from a drivetrain point of view, we will have all the options available for customers across the world.
Sir, now with the Thar, we have seen a petrol engine and an automatic petrol option. So now this is a very, considering the segment of the vehicle, this is very different because it's a lifestyle vehicle. It is supposed to be driven a lot, and automatics are here to stay because everybody wants an automatic. So now, sir, what is the roadmap for automatic transmissions across the portfolio for Mahindra and Mahindra?
So, Siddharth, let me first begin by saying, as you rightly said, for a product like Thar, one could never have really imagined the kind of demand that we have for gasoline, and that too gasoline automatic. One typically would have expected Thar to be what we call the typical off-roading vehicle. But I think it's pretty clear when you create distinct products, which is core and differentiated, there clearly you can see there is a segment and market for it. We are getting a lot of first-time buyers and they prefer gasoline automatic. about 25% is more than 25% is demand is gasoline, and close to 50% is automatic at an overall diesel and gasoline put together at a portfolio level. So clearly, as I did mention earlier, and I'm going to kind of repeat it, whether it's the new W601, the new Z101, products that we are going to launch, or be it the XUV, which today again does come with both diesel, gasoline, AMT as a technology, the entire portfolio will have a form of an automatic transmission technology, depending on the price point. That could be AMT, DCT, or a fully automatic.
Sir, I've driven the older Thar a lot, and although I really like the vehicle, there was a lot of could I live with the Thar on a daily basis questions. And the new Thar is totally different. It has been worked ground up, and now it's a car which any normal person can also buy for his day-to-day lifestyle. So sir, now could you just take us through the journey of the new Thar? What all challenges, what all did you think about while manufacturing the new Thar, and the price points, the engine options, the whole interiors, the whole exteriors, the whole journey, sir?
So, Siddharth, it's a very big challenge when you take a cult brand and try and create an all new version of it. The new Thar is not just a upgrade; it's all new, because right from the platform to the engine to the transmission, through the suspension to the interiors, everything is new. It's what in the automobile terminology it's called an M6 program, and it requires significant time and money and investment, right? So the big challenge is when you make a transformation to an all-new Thar, what do you carry over and what do you create new? So a lot of insighting went with Thar owners, as you said, people like yourselves who are Thar loyalists, and thank you so much for being one. We interacted with Thar loyalists. We also interacted with people who were keen to buy a Thar, but their wives and children, children still loved it, but wives said, no, not in my garage. So we looked at the rejectors, we looked at the loyalists, and what we carried forward was the basic silhouette of the vehicle, gave it an all new modern feel and design to it. We came up in drive quality, NVH. It was a rugged vehicle. It was a tough, rugged vehicle. What we decided to create is tough yet sophisticated. And that's what we were able to create with the all-new Thar, with all-new engine, all-new suspension, bring in the automatic transmission with the manual. Even the manual is an all-new 6-speed. So we decided to come up with 3 options of a top, which was unheard of. We had a hard top and soft top. Earlier, hard top was market fitted. Now you get hard top factory fitted, you get soft top, and we've created a convertible top for the enthusiasts, what I call. And that's a whole new buyer, from loyalists to enthusiasts who are now coming into the fold to consider and buy the Thar. So as a result, I think the journey has been, the way insighting of the consumer really helped us make the right decisions in terms of trade-offs, where to trade off, where not to. And as a result, we were able to create a fantastic product. Coming to pricing, I think we all know that pricing is always a tricky one, right? I've always said that pricing is a mix between science and art. You go through the whole science of your material costing and contribution calculation and guesstimating, and do all the research in the world to try and find out that perfect price point. And then 1 hour before the launch, you finally put the hammer on the nail and you say, let's go with this price. And I think we were very happy that with the launch of Thar, we even got the price bang on. I think it really delighted the market. And as a result, we can see that frankly, only through inorganic communication and videos being put out by the, the auto fraternity, the enthusiasts, without really spending anything on promotion, with a very frugal budget, we have a very, very healthy booking, and we are kind of booked out for 8 to 9 months. I don't say that with great pride. I know that most people would love to claim to say that we have a 1 year waiting, but we genuinely believe we want to put maximum customers into the vehicle on the road. And right now, the big challenge, because of the supply chain, is ramping up capacity to be able to meet the unprecedented. So that's how I would summarize the Thar story, Siddharth.
Sir, last week I sent a question to you about what 2021 looks like. Over there, you categorically stated the subscription and leasing model will pick up fast. So, do you think it's the end of the era of shared mobility? And also, why not consumption? Why will people not go for ownership model? Do you think that concept is also getting died down? Your thoughts?
Avishek, I don't think it's either or. Today's age is about options that you make available for the customer. As much as you can customize the vehicle, like that, as much you can customize the finance options for the consumer to experience your brand. So my personal view is vehicle ownership is still here to stay in the country. I don't think we'll see a very, very quick and fast adoption of leasing. But subscription is that sweet product in the middle between leasing and ownership. And we are very happy that we were one of the first in the country to launch that as a product. Because, for example, a product like XUV 300, if a consumer, because of multiple reasons today, because of employment or because of the pandemic, there are not many people who want to go out and spend the money, right? Having said that, I think now we are 10 months in, things have changed. But in the first few months, there were a lot of people who were saving for a rainy day because nobody knew how this would play out. In such a situation, when you make available a purse for a customer who may not get an approval of a loan, even if he or she does get an approval of the loan, you have to put 15 to 20% as down payment. Subscription is that perfect product, which is pay as you go. And no down payment, no financial loan approval from a bank. And for 25 to 30,000 rupees per month, you get to use a XUV 300, which includes your service and maintenance. Insurance, service, maintenance, everything paid for in the monthly payout of 25 to 30,000. Use it for as long as you want. When income stabilizes, you want to continue to own the XUV 300, we simply transfer the asset in the name of the customer, and then it moves from a subscription to ownership. So the bottom line, Avishek, is I don't think it's either or. You have to make multiple options available to the consumer, and it's up to the consumer to decide what works for him.
Okay, sir. As you know, Mahindra and Mahindra is known for its SUVs, and SUVs are the flavor of the season for the last many years, whether there is pandemic or no pandemic. But of late, there has been an influx of a lot of global OEMs who have launched their connected SUVs and also compact SUVs and all. And you know which names I'm implying. So do you see that as a challenge? Too many players with too many SUVs, with the segment getting hyper competitive, because you are known for your SUVs.
Avishek, I think that's exactly what makes business so interesting, because the market is hyper competitive. SUVs is the flavor of the day. The lines are becoming more and more blurred that define the difference between a passenger car and an SUV. As far as we are concerned, we are clear. We will continue to make what is core to us, which is differentiated SUV products. The recent launch of Thar is a classic example of that. The next couple of launches that we are going to have, which is the W601, which is the new XUV, and the Z101, which is the new Scorpio. Clearly, these are going to be differentiated products, which I'm not going to talk too much about that today, but Thar is just an example of how we will create differentiated products, which is core to us, so that we create our own differentiation strategy in a very complex and a hyper competitive market. And I think the XUV 300 success of the XUV 300 is also a classic example of what we've been doing in the compact SUV space.
So now a question on demand. Now this word demand generation has been plaguing the auto industry all this year. So now we recently had Diwali and the whole couple of weeks of festive season, and I can understand the whole industry was preparing for it. So I would like to understand how was the festive season for Mahindra and Mahindra, and do you see demand picking up in the next quarter or the next 2 quarters?
So, Siddharth, I'm going to answer that. Let me answer that in 2 parts. Let me get the festive season first. Let me answer that part first. I think the festive season has been very good for the industry as well as for M&M. We've had a strong double-digit growth when it comes to the UV portfolio and a good single-digit growth when it comes to small commercial vehicles, especially the pickup range of vehicles. Demand has been very strong, as I've mentioned earlier. Whether you look at the festive season, whether you look at the month of December, or whether we look at getting into January, we are clearly seeing a robust demand going forward. I just want to talk a little bit about the fundamentals that are leading to a strong demand and why I believe the demand is probably here to stay. So whether you look at the increasing trend of money circulation or growth in rural deposit, whether you look at the significant increase in credit to the MSEs, whether you look at the employment generation under Manrega, which supports the cash flow in rural India, so all of these, including a very, very good monsoon, which can clearly be seen by the data of the long period average being almost 8% higher than the previous year, reservoir levels higher than the previous year, Kharif output being at a record level, agricultural rural development spending at double of what it was in the previous year. All of these are very clear indications that, and like I said, our booking pipeline continues to show that the demand is strong. If you're asking me to crystal gaze too much into the future, a little difficult to do, because as we know, times are a little uncertain. But if I was to look at the next 3 to 4 months, I believe demand will continue to be strong. The question is going to be how supply chain plays out and the ability for manufacturers to meet that.
So now the industry has been facing a lot of challenges, not just in 2020, in 2019 as well. So there has been calls for scrappage policy, and the government has also introduced the PLI scheme for MSMEs and the component sector. So what do you think needs to be done from the policy side of the things to push the industry?
I think SIAM as an organization has reached out to the finance ministry with a number of requests. I'm just kind of highlighting a couple which are important for the automobile industry to continue to see sustained demand going forward. I think clearly one of the asks has been GST rate on automobile to be looked at, to be brought to 18% from the base rate, from 28% to 18%. Scrappage policy is something we've been talking about for a while. We'd like to see that being implemented in the upcoming budget. There have also been some other requests of withdrawal of the proposed hike in vehicle registration fee. As many of you all know that when the vehicle price crosses a certain point, the registration fees becomes disproportionately higher, and that's it varies from state to state. So this is a very, very important factor, because if you look at from a base price of a vehicle to an on-road price, the multiplier factor is almost 2 times when you look at a combination of GST, registration, road tax, insurance. So I think a lot of this adds to the price, and we've been requesting the government to favorably look at all these additional costs that the consumer needs to bear to own an automobile. Depreciation rate is another thing that we've been asking for, and also to look at options of income tax benefit. So that will help boost demand, especially in the area of green vehicles going forward. So I think these are some of the asks that we, SIAM as an industry body has been putting out to the finance ministry.
Sir, now as a leader, I want to understand your key learnings from this whole pandemic and the 2020 situation.
I think, Siddharth, the key learning is how do you become an agile organization which is able to very quickly innovate, relook at how business is done, both from a consumer mindset and a delivery mindset. So if you ask me, the biggest takeaway has been how do you become agile to adapt to a very fast changing environment, to be able to, and the second thing is to be able to anticipate how things would play out going forward and your ability to deliver against that. So I would say agility, innovation, and scenario planning. These would be my three big learnings as a leader that I have taken away from the pandemic.
Great, sir. So now one last question. Now there are a lot of people who want to buy the new Thar, but there is an 8-month or a 6-month waiting period. So what would you like to tell them?
I'm very happy that there are so many customers who love to own the Thar, but I'm equally embarrassed that it's taking us longer than what we would have liked to be able to fulfill that demand. When we did our investments, or rather when we planned capacity, we had planned for 2,000 a month. Obviously, our investments had taken into consideration what we put behind the project for an increase in capacity. We have tried and we are doing everything, despite some of the challenges of the supply chain, to increase that capacity to 3,000 to 3,500 per month. And hopefully in Q4, our hope was that we would have got there, but like I said, there are new surprises that keep coming up, with now the ECUs being the new one because of demand of semiconductors. So I think that I'm only going to request the customers to be a little bit more patient with us. We are doing everything to ramp up capacity. Rest assured, from the top management to everybody in the organization, including the larger ecosystem of our suppliers, are working on it. Very soon we will ramp up that capacity. And hopefully we will be able to reduce the waiting period for all the customers who booked the Thar. So a very big thank you and an apology. But we are doing everything to make sure we meet that demand.
Thank you for talking to us, Mr. Nakra, and we wish you all the best and a lot of safety for the next few coming months of COVID. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, and thank you, Avishek. As always, pleasure talking to you all. Thank you for having me on your show.